G'day fellas. Today we're going to be looking at the Inca. So the Inca are a civilization that was only released in the Definitive Edition. They weren't available in the original game. When they came out, they were a little bit on the underpowered side. So in the most recent patch, they've received a couple of changes that have seen their power increase. So I'm going to be focusing on a number of different build orders in the video today. The first that I'm going to be focusing on would best be described as a cheese build. So if you've played StarCraft or StarCraft 2, it would be the equivalent of a 4-pull in StarCraft 1, or in StarCraft 2 a 6-pull from the Zerg. And the reason why is because you're essentially just going for the hardest and the fastest rush that you possibly can. Now, we do still train settlers, simply because settlers pay for themselves so quickly that you're actually hurting yourself if you don't build them. In StarCraft, it's a little bit different, so you don't have to build settlers. And so through the build order, so I'll guide you through what we're doing. So we pick up all of our starting resources. We build those initial 2 cancher houses. The cancher houses are really important because they're going to generate food. So you want to get them down as quickly as possible. You notice that I didn't start hunting or doing anything until I'd made sure that I'd picked up all of my crates, just so that I can get them out onto the field and start collecting immediately. I'm also rounding up a hunt. It's important that when you're playing Inca that you've got access to a lot of food. So that's a really important thing to make sure that you get done early, especially when you look on the map like this. So the starting hunt is quite small, and you're going to be moving off it as the Incan player. So the first shipment's going to come in. When it comes to the first shipment, you're just going to leave it. You're not going to touch it. So you might be tempted to say, "Oh, let's get 300 wood, and we'll build some canchers." No, that's not what you're going to do. That's not what cheese is about. So this is a build order. Even though I'm showing you guys this, really, if you do want to become better players, this is not the builder that I want you to be executing. I'm simply showing you this build order just because it is a build order that's absolutely so lame that it will inevitably happen to you on the ladder when you're playing 1v1 ranked, and you just simply need to be aware of it because you're going to have to know how to defend from it. That's something that I still don't know how to do yet, but we're working every day to discover that. So we're aging up here with the Chasqui. Now, I do note that I picked up my llama just before I hit, it was about 600 food, and the idea is that you want to get that extra fast age up. Don't be afraid to idle. I've only got 10 settlers, that's okay. So now that we're in the age up transition, we're pushing our town center, the waypoint, down towards the enemy base, and we're making sure that we scout out the enemy base. We want to know where all their hunts are. We want to know where their settlers are. We want to know where their buildings are going to be. As soon as we age up, the Chasqui arrives, and we ship 5 plumed spearmen. So the 5 plumed spearmen. Now, people might be thinking to themselves, okay, well, why not ship the Chimu runners? They're going to do a lot more damage to the settlers. It's not about doing damage to the settlers. If you can kill the settlers, great job, but it's not about killing them. The most important thing is getting them to garrison and burning units down. So you can see that we've aged up at about 3 minutes, and our unit shipment is already halfway on the way. We've got our Chimu runner in the base, and we've made sure that the shipment point is now on the Chimu runner. You can see there that the shipment is there. And we're also saving up our food for the big button. 3, 2, 1, there it is. Boom. 3 minutes, 44 seconds. That's when your units are in. Look at that siege damage. That's a 1600 health shrine, and it's burning it just because it's still in progression. There's the next plumed. 356 coming in. There's not a single civilization that's aged up at this time. Not even the Ottomans are aged up at this time. And you've got 11, I think, or 10 spearmen in their base, and you're murdering them. Now, keep in mind, this is the cheese strategy, alright? So, even though it's cheese, we're still going to send units, but we're going to train settlers, okay? For us to make military production, that's a big investment. So, you can see what I'm doing, what I'm pointing out on the screen, is that when my units are being attacked by the town center, I'm making sure I changed my pikemen into cover mode. So there, I click, and I hit cover mode. By putting it into covered mode, it's going to reduce the damage that it takes from ranged fire by 50%. So it essentially makes it much more tanky and enables it to take more shots from the town center. So meanwhile, while I'm doing all this and I'm shipping unit shipments, so you can see here at 4 minutes 55, the Chasqui's going to drop in some more units. So what have we got? Oh no, it's 5:58. So we've got some Chimu runners. So Chimu runners are going to be able to clean up the villages. Keep in mind, we're only at 5 minutes right here, fellas. and the town center is already burning down. Now behind this, we're working on our economy. We're making sure that we're going for a big economy. So I've decided to ship the Cancha brewing card here. It's probably not the best card. The best card's probably about 600 wood. That way you can get more Canchas down. But you can just see, obviously I'm playing against an AI here. It really is an extremely cheesy strategy. You forgo absolutely every form of economic investment, but at the same time, it is a rush that is by far the fastest in the game. I've never seen anything that's even close to this. You know, even with the Ottomans, you're getting your racks finished by 420. You're marching your units in there at 450, 455 at the best. This is just this is unheard of. So it's something that we're going to have to learn how to counter it. I'm not quite sure exactly how it's going to happen. My first thought was sniping the Chasqui with the town center, but then if you're playing against smart players who know to make sure the Chasqui only runs in as the shipment's popping down, and then the shipment pops, well, there's nothing that you can do, and the Chasqui is going to take 2 shots from the town center. So it's got more than 90 health. So it's a difficult question. So let's move on to the next game. So the next game is it's a similar strategy, but it's with a higher level of focus on the economy. So we're playing on the same map here. Now, I will note that I am picking up some starting treasures here. They're only small treasures, but they still do make a big difference. So if you can find just small treasures at the beginning of the game, they're really going to help contribute towards hitting this big button as soon as possible, which is the most important thing, because that 4 settlers, the moment that they start gathering is when you begin to really experience that economic boost. So here you can see I'm putting down the Cancha immediately, making sure that it's up and running. So I've got my food income, and I'm moving my llama over towards my settlers because I'm going to be killing my llama so that I can gather the extra food that I need as quickly as possible. So I've got one settler. So the magic number is 180. You want to have 180 of each resource. So there's a couple of ways that you can do it. The first way is that you can have a bit of idle TC time. Normally this isn't too much. It's about 5 or 10 seconds. It's something that you probably don't... It's not a big deal if you do it, to be honest. That really, the quicker that you can get the 4 villagers, the better. So pulling that villager off when it hits 180, make sure that you don't overgather, especially on coin, because you're not going to be using that coin ever again. Well, at least for a couple minutes. So, and there's the big button. It's coming in at 124. And it's a very quick to research big button. So it's not like a unit shipment. It's incredibly fast. And it arrives, it's a minute 33, and we've got 12 settlers already. So we're looking absolutely beautiful. There's a huge focus on the economy here. Now, when it comes to aging up, there's a few different philosophies that come in on this build order. The first one is the economic age up, which is where you take 300 wood and you build canchas. That's the first. The second one is where you go for speed and you actually take the 2 llamas, which is something that I've elected to do. So when you take the 2 llamas, so they each arrive with 400 food. 400 food on them, completely ready to eat. Llamas gather much quicker than hunts. They gather incredibly quickly. So what we're going to do is, because when the llamas arrive, they're going to give us 800 food. They're going to decay as well, so they're not going to give us exactly 800. It'll be a little bit under 800. In the downtime, we're going to gather enough wood so that we can build a cancha. And that cancha is going to give us the extra experience that we need to get our next shipment a little bit faster. So here come the llamas about to drop down. There's the first one. Make sure you delete your llama. Don't delete your villagers. That is a mistake I've made too many times. And you can see the way that I'm moving my settlers over the top of those llamas, making sure that they are all gathering as quickly as possible. So we're going to have some idle town center time. You can see we're already at 400 food, but look how quickly that food is going up. There's just no stopping it. Well, that's until the llamas run out. So once we hit 800 food, we're going to be aging up with the politician. I don't actually know his name. The messenger. There you go. And so we hit that button. Make sure you gather all the food out of your llamas. Don't leave them on the ground. It's like that little mistake there. You want to gather them up, and then you want to be shifting over to wood. So now in the transition, it's a very quick transition. But what we want to do is we need to gather XP for our second shipment. So for me, in this game, I haven't gathered too many treasures. I haven't been focusing on it because I've tried to really keep the game as simple as possible. Okay, huge mistake here. So let's just take a look at what's happened. I've double-clicked the settlers, and now they've all decided they want to have a dance party on the foundations. So that stuffed me up a little bit, but not a lot. So now the camp has been built. You can see we're close to that shipment. We murder that little Komodo dragon, and then finally, there it is. All right, so shipment's coming in at 3:58. So a second age shipment, that's going to take 40 seconds. So we can expect at about 4 minutes and 38 seconds, that's when we're going to be touching down with our plume spearmen. Now, in the game, if you're playing this strategy on ladder, probably don't be scouting out the enemy with the chasqui. They see the chasqui, they're going to know what's up immediately. I mean, to be fair, if a person sees you age up that quickly, they're probably going to know what's up straight away. So avoid doing it with the chasqui. Try and make sure that you're doing it with the explorer. So behind this, we're on wood with just a few on food for settlers. And there we go. So we've got that 437 they're in, and they're beginning sieging. Keep in mind the shrine is 1600 health. Look at the damage that that's doing. The barracks is very close to the 1600 health mark. It's nothing like a town center. It burns. So keep in mind, behind this, look at the economy that we're putting down. We're keeping our settlers being trained, and we're building up canchers. These canchers gather faster than a settler on a berry bush. That's how fast they gather. The idea here is not really that we want to burn shrines. What we want to do is we want to make the enemy garrison. We want to disrupt them as much as possible. So we want to make sure that when we're playing against the enemy, that we're keeping them in the town center. If you see a barracks going up, burn that shit. If you see an outpost going up, burn that shit. But get out. It's not you're not there to burn down the town center. You're just there to disrupt them. Meanwhile, look back at your base. You got canchers going up everywhere. Look at this shit. It's crazy. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 canchers. That's 8 food per second once this card comes in. Apologies, I've been talking very quickly, so my mouth's a little bit dry. So essentially the idea is that we're just doing damage. So even though I'm moving my units away from the enemy, if this were a real game, a genuine game, I would be going back in there. I would be playing with him. I would be making sure that he was on his toes and that he couldn't be building any barracks or that he couldn't be building up any outposts whatsoever. So now it's at the 6-minute mark. I'm dropping down the war hut. Once this cancher upgrade card comes in, our economy is going to go boom. Have a look how fast that trickle is. They're at 1 food a second, all of those canchers, which means that you're able to now start building Chimu runners. So Chimu runners are your go-to unit. You really want to build the Chimus. Incredibly strong units, very fast, versatile units. They can raid, they can defend. They're just really, they're everything you want in an early game unit. So even though we're shipping Plume Spearmen, we're shipping them for their siege damage, they can still convince the enemy to garrison. So there you see, it's our first Chimu runner that we're creating. We're just putting one in the queue at the moment. And you can just see the absolute economy that we're building up here. So we've got 22 settlers. We've got a huge amount of canchers. And so the idea is that we now want to continue disrupting the enemy as much as possible while building up a mass of Chimus. And this is going to enable us to continue leveraging the power of the cancher. So here we see another one going down. Keep in mind that each cancher, it's worth about 1.25 villages on a hunt when it's upgraded. It is a strong boy. So you want to max out these as soon as possible. So your next shipment comes in. It really depends what you want to play or what your playstyle is here. I definitely prefer going the Inca Roundworks card. It's just going to enable you to have much faster units. So there we are, getting another batch of 5 Chimu out. So now we've got 10 Chimu out on the field. Some people will opt, instead of sending the unit speed card, so you can send units instead. So now we're going to take a look at some real games where I pulled off this. So you can see the timing in the top right hand corner. It's 4 minutes 40. This is a game against a very competent player. And it's 4 minutes 40. Their barracks is going up. Their outpost is going up. They're British. But it's not going up for long. So you can see we run out our chasqui so that if we want to get further shipments in, we can. He's taken out 1 plumed spearman. And he loses his racks. Look, you can see the Minutemen are called as well. So essentially he's lost 250 wood in that outpost, 200 wood in the barracks, and he's called Minutemen. So that's 300 resources, all for your single unit shipment. Not to mention all the time that he spent garrisoning. So let's have a look at the next clip. 428, 429. This is a French player. He's got stronger. Courrier de Base. You see them here. And there's the pop. Right there. 438. And so he plays it smart, thinking, oh no, they're only plumed, I don't have to bring them in. And then he realizes, wait, no, they're actually killing me. And there's those beautiful wagons. You can see the Explorer going in. You got to make sure that Explorer's right in underneath that town center to catch those wagons. And he puts it down as a stable. He thinks it's 10 seconds. This is going to get up real quick. Incorrect. We've got 44 siege damage on each of these bad boys, doing 4 times as much. So when we head back over there, after we put down that war hut, that stable's dead. That's burnt to the ground. He's got an arsenal that's going to take 5 seconds to get up, so we're not going to bother with that. So anyway, we're going to move on to the third game. Just recapping on that second game, it's probably my go-to 1v1 build order for the Incas, primarily because you've got a huge amount of disturbance that you can provide to the enemy, and at the same time you can still build up a huge economy behind it. It's consistent, even though the 300 wood option is available to you. When you take the 300 wood, you're gonna need to rely on finding other sources of food. So if you're in a map with a high number of livestock, let's say sheep, let's say cows, so Mongolia or Saguenay, then that's a map where you could potentially be going the 300 wood and still then have enough to get up on time. But ideally, you're going to be wanting to take the llamas because it's going to enable you to build up that extra little buffer of XP by getting out that second cancer immediate or before you age, and then hitting the third cancer during transition. And it's going to mean you hit your age up every single time. There's no missing your age up with the llamas. You can do this on every single map. You don't need a trade post. You don't need cows. You don't need to find a 90 food treasure. You don't need to find 2 90 food treasures. You are perfectly fine with, in this video, I did it with a single 50 food treasure, which is it's not a big ask. And so moving on to the third game. So here you can see that the same thing that I'm doing at the beginning. I'm making sure my villagers are gathering their wood. And we're going to be putting down that cancer house as quickly as we can. So there it goes down. And we're doing that same thing. We're going for that big button. That big button is available in age 1 to us. That's a 4 settler shipment. The sooner we get that, the sooner it starts paying itself off. And we're just going to be ahead of the game by doing it. So making sure that our settlers are going to coin. We're going to want to hit that 180 mark, and we've got 1 villager there that's going to be going on wood. Making sure that I get my llama ready. You can see the llama moving in. The llama is in position. I can confirm llama is in position. And then we're going to send off our explorer to head down and do some scouting. So there's absolutely nothing different between the very beginning of this game and the very beginning of the last game. Where it changes is at the shipment point. So you can see where we've pulled off now that we're at 180, and I slowly pull off those villagers and then make sure at 180, boom, we're good to go. Shipped at 1 minute 21 seconds. And that's something that you can consistently do. You just got to find those little early treasures. The more you can find, the better. Once you've got the big button, ideally you want to be looking for XP treasures. Or at least in the second build, you want to be looking for XP treasures. In this build, you're not really fussed at all. So we're all on food this whole time. And the reason we're going on food this whole time is because we're going to be sending the 300 wood instead of the 2 llamas. So there comes the 300 wood. Now with the 300 wood, you don't want to be gathering that while you're still working towards your age up. When that comes in, you want to make sure that you leave it on the ground. Once you've clicked up, that's when you're allowed to pick up your wood. Even though the wood gathers quickly, it's still villager seconds that are being used. So here I'm herding in a deer, making sure that I follow it as it moves so that I'm not losing out on those villager seconds. I scout a coin treasure up here, which is of absolutely no use to me. Because I'm in the middle of a demonstration and I want to make sure that you guys see everything and understand that what I'm doing is fair and it's achievable. So you can see in-game time, it's 247, 248. We're hitting towards our target of 800. So what I'm doing here is I'm leaving a settler, and the way I make my decision is if the settler reaches halfway, and I don't have 700 food, then I won't cancel the settler. So just going over that again, I train this settler, and if I hit 700 food and the settler still isn't at halfway, I will cancel it. If it's over halfway, I will permit it to be born. I will not abort the settler. And the reason why is because it comes down to TC idle time and wanting to maximize the efficiency that you've got. And even though you can have a slightly earlier age up, which is definitely an attraction when it comes to doing or aging up with the messenger, when we're doing the build that we're doing right now, it's not such a big impact. So we're not going to be aging up with the messenger in this build order. We're going to be aging up with the chief. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So the chief, he provides 2 builder travois. All right, so as soon as we age up, we're moving everybody over to wood, making sure that we gather up our wood. I couldn't actually find the 3rd wood crate. I was having a look for it, but it's actually under the settler at the bottom who's gathering wood crates. And so we're gathering up that wood. We're making sure that we drop our canches down immediately. You can see I'm building this cute little wall at the front as well. It's really, really important that when you are building your canches that you build them in this nice little concave. It protects your settlers, prevents raids from coming in. So this is my team build. So if I'm playing Inca in a team game, this is what I'm going to be doing in team. So there you can see I'm herding the hunt. I'm firing the spear perfectly, but it's going off to the side, and I'm being mad about it. Okay, so once I've finished my 4th cancher, I gather enough for a 5th cancher, and I move everyone over to coin. So for those of you who don't know, there's a shipment in Age 2, which enables the Incans to become the Portuguese. Not really. It gives them a second town center in the 2nd age. And it costs 250 coin. And so what you're going to do, so there you can see I'm getting ready to send out my travois down in that direction. So you want to hit 250 coin on the dot, and you don't want to gather anything more than that. So you can see I'm just about to hit it, and there it goes. So I've got 2 left, and then I'm sending my travois. So I've sent the town center travois, so now my war hut is going down, and I'm also putting a TP down. Ideally, I probably should be putting that war hut down on top of my trading post so that it deters any potential pikemen or anything like that. But you can see that we've aged up at a reasonable time. We aged up, before 5 minutes, which is never a bad thing when you're playing into this, or playing with the longer age ups. So now we've got, so with the economic focus, the idea is that this is probably a team game on a larger map where you're confident that the enemies, let's say you're up against a Dutch and a Swedish, they're probably going to be building skirms and Carolians in their base. You can comfortably be doing this build. This isn't, no one's going to sneeze at you and push you over. You're going to be absolutely fine. And here you can see the town center travois coming in as well with the free tambo. So you can choose whether you want to build a tambo or a war hut. It's really how you want to play it. I just decided to go with the war hut because I thought I'd grab a little bit of extra line of sight. So I'm maintaining an economy, and I'm trying my best to keep up settlers. I've got a little bit too many on wood and not enough on food at the moment. And you can see I've created some Chimu runners. So with these just 2 Chimu runners, that's enough to go and harass the enemy, go and pull some settlers off food, get them to idle for a little bit. And now you can see the cancer card hits. This is where we go big league. So this is our very first card. This is our very first card once we've set the town center, obviously. And so continuing putting up those canchers, and have a look at that economy. Look how fast that food is rolling in. We've got 1 settler on food, but look how quickly that goes up. So now we're heading towards the 7-minute mark. Normally this is where things start to get a little bit active. So you can see I'm training more Chimu runners, and I've got that shipment. So now when you need units, you take units here. But I'm not experiencing any fighting. That's because Tokugawa is being very patient with me. He's staying in age 1. So I'm going to go with an upgrade. If I was getting pushed on, I'd be going units. And I wouldn't be training settlers, and I wouldn't be building canches. I would be getting all my units out, and I'd be making sure that my enemy was being pressured by my units, deterring them as much as I could so that I could continue gathering. So here you can see With the settler, I made sure that I intentionally didn't send it onto the hunt. I sent it behind the hunt so that it can herd the hunt towards my town center. And now, just like the Portuguese in a team game, we maintain production of villages out of 2 town centers. The crazy thing about this civilization is, in addition to being able to do that, they're also got these absolute monsters, which just generate food all day. So you can see we've hit the build limit for the canchers. It's not 8 minutes yet. It's up to you where you want to go from here. Do you want to go for market upgrades? Do you want to, build up your mass? Do you want to look for age 3? There's really just a huge amount of options that are available to you here with this build order. It's very solid. So it is important that you do avoid sending the Team Inca Bridges card at least early on in the game, so it doesn't affect your Chimu runners anymore. It did once affect them, but not anymore. So it's important that you save this for a little bit later in the game. So look, fellas, that's the end of the video. Hopefully I've been able to teach you a little bit about the different build orders or the different options that are open to the Inca. I think this is a civilization to watch. Even though initially their balance was somewhat questionable, I think they're now in a relatively good position, and hopefully we'll be able to see them a little bit more in the meta. Thank you for watching.